Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Tech Tuesday presented by Delta Media Group, where we've discovered that the RBMK reactor can't explode if you don't have one. So, today we are going to take a look at the customer list. This is a feature that we've had in the system for a while, but we have added a lot of functionality to it over time, and so we wanted to jump back in, take another look at it, and make sure that everyone is as familiar with it as they can be, because it can be a very powerful tool for you. So let's jump into the DeltaNet and take a look. So to get there, I'm going to scroll down to Customers and then Customer List. And what this allows me to do is, at its core, it's all about pulling up exactly what it sounds like, a list of customers. But it allows me to pull up that list based on a wide variety of criteria and then ultimately open up that list kind of in bulk so that I can cycle through them and use it like a prospecting list so that I can make calls or send emails, leave notes on customers, and then move out to the next customer. So to see how it works, you can see I have a list of customers here that it's brought up by default. It has a limit of 1,000 customers at a time, so if I had more than 1,000 in my database here, it would actually give me a note up here that says there are more than 1,000, so it's only showing 1,000 of those customers. Keep in mind that if I were to export this list, it'll export the whole list. So even if I have more than 1,000, it's going to show only that 1,000 on this page, but then when I export, it's going to show the whole thing. So what you can do here first is, you see we have these little drop-down menus here. So if I click on Activity, this allows me to select some various criteria that determines which customers show up in my list. And the idea here is I can say, show me only requests that were created recently. So let's say created in the last 90 days. And the whole point is that I can pull up a list here of customers that I'd like to prospect. So say a new listing comes on the market, I want to see just those created recently. So those are people with recent activity or recently engaged on my website. And customer info, if I were looking for a specific customer, I could use the information here, search by email address, by name, by phone number. And I can also go down here and I can look at these labels or what groups the customers are in. So if I'm segmenting my customers out by, say, what phase of the sales pipeline they're in, that would be what these labels correspond to. So I could say, show me only customers that are in the suspect or in the prospect portion of the pipeline. And I can say, show me customers. So if I'm segmenting my customers out by group, let's say, for example, I have a group for all customers interested in a certain zip code, and then I also have a group of customers that are interested in only homes that are kid-friendly, for example, or homes with only a certain number of bedrooms, or only a playroom, something like that. I can have customers that are in both of those groups, so I can say, show me only customers that are in both of those groups. And that way I bring up a list that's very specific to the customer segment that I want to target here. So I can pick my groups. We'll go ahead and pick a few just so you can see, and you just check those boxes and it adds them into your list. And you can see all the various criteria you can pick up from there. Now I can also go over to requests and I can look at, typically you'll be processing leads right away, so it won't really matter if you're looking at both processed and unprocessed, which is what it'll look at by default. But you could look at only unprocessed leads here if you want. So if you have a number of leads that have come in and you haven't processed those yet, you can narrow down what this returns to just those customers. We can look at only customers that have made showing requests. So you can see how powerful this tool is as you go through these filters and the kind of things that you can bring in. And then next, if you are on a team or if you're a team leader, you can use this delegated function to see leads that only you have delegated out to a certain agent. So let's say you're a team leader, you go in and you set up, leads come into the team website and you're delegating those out to members of the team, and you want to see only leads that you've delegated to a specific team member. You can use that option here to return only those leads. So that's kind of the core of this feature. Now the next thing you can do here is take a look at filter tools real quick. You can see that I could save this filter. So if I'm using this commonly, like let's say I'm looking at only customers entered in the last 30 days that are in a specific group. I could set that filter up and save it, and then I could go back in here and really easily use that filter over and over again so that I can pull up that same list of customers, or customers, new list of customers based on that criteria. And then you can also see a summary of everything you've selected filter-wise as far as this goes right here. Once you've set up all the filters you want, you just click on search, and that'll update your list. Based on what I picked, I actually did get a match. I'm actually slightly surprised. I have a bunch of test data in here, so you never quite know what you're going to get. But you can see it pull up the list of all the customers that match the criteria I chose. Now the next thing you can do here, I would just touch on really quickly. Up in the right, we have this little set of binoculars. If I click on that, that opens up my advanced search options. And I won't get too in-depth with this. This is only something that you're going to use if you're looking for a very, very specific subset of customers. But to give you an idea what it can do, and you can also save the filters here, but I could go in here and I could say, show me only customers that have last activity of home finder sent. So the last thing that happened was they received a home finder from me. And I'll go ahead and add another rule. So, and they are in, and they're not in group A. And then I'll add another group. And I'll say and group B, and we'll add another rule, and group C. So this looks very complicated, but what I've set up here is a filter that will say show me all customers that have had a last activity type, so the last activity with them, the last interaction with them stored in the system was that they received a home finder or a saved search email from me. They're not in group A, and we'll switch that to or, and they are in either group B or group C. So basically that's the filter set I've put together here. And then if I click on search, it'll return all the customers that match that, which is probably going to be nobody, which is nobody. But you can see what kind of thing you can do here. So the idea is that you pull up a very, very specific list of customers based on whether they're in or out of certain groups or in and out of certain statuses. You can have ands and ors in here, so it can get very complicated. But if you're prospecting a very specific group of customers, there is a use for that in there. So once you've run this search, and I'll go ahead and reload this page to get my defaults back. So once you've run this search and you get your list of customers, the next thing you can do here is you can open all these customers in bulk. So to do that, I'm going to click on Select Customers, and you can see that opens up my checkbox here. And now I'm going to click on Select. Now one thing to keep in mind here is what this says is select all 50 rows or cancel to select only this page. Now in this case, I'm showing 50 rows on a page, so either one of those options is going to do the same thing for me. But the idea would be, let's say your filters return a list of 500 customers. So if they return a list of 500 customers, you would have multiple pages at that point. So if you only want to select the first page, when you click this select and this box pops up, you would hit cancel, and that would select only the first page of results. Whereas if you select OK, it's going to select all 500 across all the pages you have. So that's something to keep in mind with how this pop-up works. So I'll click OK, that selects everybody. If there were multiple pages, I'd have just selected all those pages. And now that they're all selected, I can go down here and I can hit Open Selected Customers, and that'll open them all up into my, I don't have a great name for the view, my cycling through customers view, or my queue view. I don't like that term. I'll think of a better one. But before I do that, I'm going to scroll up here and show you that a couple of things we've added to this customer list are the different view types. So right now we're on standard view by default. If I click that, I can do standard view by zip code. And now if I click search, it's going to return that same list. But now it has a zip code column, and it's going to be sorted out by zip code. So in my view, if your browser window is a little wider, you'll see all of those different columns. Since mine's not, if I click on this plus sign, you can see it opens up the rest of the columns, and then there's my zip code. So it's an easy way that I can pull up my list of customers segmented out by zip code. Now I can also go to a call logging report here and search that, and that's going to have to do with calls I've logged for these customers. Well, right now I haven't logged any calls in any customer, so I don't get any. And then lastly, you get the customer engagement view. So if I choose that one and click search, it's going to give me a metric for a level of engagement on all the customers that come up. And again, because of the width of my view here, you can't see it until I hit the plus sign, but now you can see engagement score 34%. And as I click down the list, you can see the engagement score on each one. So in most browser windows, and we do it this way because it's a little easier to see behind me in this window size, but generally you'll be using a larger window or a larger viewport for your browser, so you'll see this engagement score as a column. The idea there is customers with a higher engagement score are those that have a greater level of engagement with your website and with the system. So those are the ones that you want to focus some of your attention on, because those are ones that, based on what we've found and based on their activity in the system, seem like they are more likely to be ready to make a transaction sometime soon. So we're going to expand that functionality as time passes, but for now, that it's just designed to give you a good baseline and help you determine where you should focus your efforts. So that is what the engagement score view is. So now once you've got your customer list all loaded up the way you want and you set up that bulk open, so I'll go ahead and back to select, OK, and we'll go down here and click on Open Selected Customers. And now it opens up my bulk customer view. So from here, that's pretty good, right? Bulk customer view. I like that. We'll stick with that. So now in my bulk customer view, you can see that it's loaded up basically the customer's profile page in this lower section. So that has their profile or contact information on the left, their notes section on the right, and everything that's on their profile page loads up here. So, save searches, properties, and if I scroll down here a bit, you can see their history section loads up so that you can see all the customer's information and add and remove things and basically manipulate it from this view so you don't have to go into customers one at a time. So from here, the idea is what I would do is take a look at my customer. You can see some information here. I would click this if I want to give them a call. That would use the dialer handler that's built into the machine I'm using. So if I was on my phone using this view and I tap that, it would open up the dialer on my phone. Depending on how your computer is set up, if you have Skype installed, clicking that may open Skype or Google Voice, and you can make a call through that. Or you can just pick up your phone and call their number that you see right there. The idea is that I would then call them, go over here, click Add a New Note. I would enter a new note, the aptly named new note. In this case, I called them, so I'll go ahead and set the note category to call, click Done, and there we go. I just added a call note to that customer, and now I'm going to move on to the next one. So this way I can very quickly and easily go through, run through each of my customers and handle my prospecting through here. Just a call, a note. Let's say they give me information about a property they want. So while on the phone, I could scroll down here to Save Searches, create a saved search for them, and then when I'm all set, leave another note, go back up, click Next, and I'm on to the next one. So that's kind of the primary function of this bulk customer view. But the next thing you can do here is if I've pulled up a list of customers and I want to retain that list, I can go ahead and add them to an existing group, or I can create a new group, give it a name, click Create Group, and that would add all these customers to that group so that if I pulled up a list that I want to keep, that's how I would get them added into a group like that. Now, if, for example, I don't want to add them to a group, but I have pulled up a specific list, say based on the groups they're in already, and a new property just came on the market, and based on how I have these customers stored and how I have them organized, I know that this group of prospects would be interested in the home that just came on the market. What I could do is I would pull up this list, pull up this bulk customer view, and then instead of, or even in addition to going through and calling each of them, I could go up here to Send Communication. I could send out an e-blast. I could send out a mail merge, which would just be basically it generates the e-blast emails in a printable form so that I could send out a physical mailer to them. Or I could set up an e-card for that. So we'll go ahead and set up an e-card to give you an example there. So I would go Send Communication, e-card. It makes me confirm that I want to send an e-card to those customers, so I'll say OK. That loads up my e-card interface. We know that this one is for a new listing, so I'm going to go down here, find New Listing. There we are. I just want to see e-cards, so we'll narrow that down. Click on the e-card template I want to use. Now at this point, it's going to show all of my properties here, but let's say this isn't one of my properties. I can go ahead and type in the address or the MLS number of whatever property I'd like and select that from the list. At that point, it loads up my e-card template with the photos that are attached to that listing and the information there. I can then customize the e-card however I'd like, and this is just the regular e-card system, so we've got videos that go over that. And then when I have it set up the way I want, I just click on Send e-card, and that'll send out my e-card to that kind of temporary group. And actually, if I hit Send, you can see Customer Search Group is already built in here for me. And then I just leave that checked. If I want to check any additional groups I can, or send to any additional recipients I can, and then I'll just hit Send, and that'll fire off my e-card. So the idea there is that it becomes a very easy way that You can send out a correspondence to a very specific group of customers based on a new listing that just came on the market. All right, so there you go. That is customer list. Reload the page there. That is customer list. So as always, thanks a lot for joining me this week. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, suggestions for new videos, feel free to comment on any of our videos on Facebook or YouTube, or send an email into support@deltagroup.com, or give us a call, because we always love to hear from you. So thanks a lot for joining me, and I will see you again next week.